Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Mystery Red Reads. I am your host, Mystery Red. This is my disclaimer. This beta read in concrete is at the author's request. This video is for learning purposes. Today we're doing a beta read in concrete of a piece of original fiction. We are looking at Chapter 5 with internalization upgrades for Crystal Committee of their story, Infinite Shades. So I have another reading of Chapter 5. And Crystal Committee has gone back and added some internalizations and asked me to take a second look. And so here we go. I will include links to my other reads for Crystal Committee in the description. And let's get started. The sun's warm glow casts an emerald light over the spacious loft, filtering through a curtain of fern-like plants draping the floor-to-ceiling windows. The diffused sunlight bathes the space in serene glow. Along the lower walls, tiered plants rise, each more vibrant than the last, their leaves stretching upward. Planter boxes overflow with greenery, sturdy stalks bending under their weight. Above, heavy blooms hang from the ceiling, tendrils weaving through the air, a testament to the space's careful design. Pencil drawings line the walls, framed with precision. Glass cases catch the light, revealing figures in moments of quiet heroism and tragic resolve. Scenes from a past still breathing through graphite lines. A composed royal woman hands food to the needy. Nearby, a woman bandages a soldier during a bloody conflict. A wounded warrior stands against overwhelming odds, eyes marked by pain and determination. A lone figure rides amid chaos. The room holds a sense of reverence, each image telling a quiet story. In the same space, two beds stand as stark opposites. One with tucked sheets and an aligned pillow reflects discipline and order. The other bed's tangled sheets and blankets tell a different story, restlessness or a hurried exit. Amanda sits in a high-backed chair, her gaze shifting from the semicircle of monitors filled with data. Nearby, a desk is scattered with half-finished devices. Her focus is on the central monitor where a video conference plays. Why am I even here? Another round of nothing. Surrounding screens display CCTV feeds from nearby blocks, each with a scrolling text box logging data. Amanda skims the information. Her attention shifts to the upper monitor displaying a man stepping out of a car with a potted plant. The camera zooms in on the seedling, species and origin details overlaying the image. Taka Chantureri? Really? A taka? How cliche. Vicky, I've got the pictures and your notes. I'll email you my thoughts tonight, Amanda says. That works. I'll get them packaged and ready for the courier, Vicky replies. Later. Amanda ends the call without ceremony. 3 red question marks blink on the monitor, requesting quarantine for the flower Garrett purchased. She hesitates, then selects yes and begins typing. The monitors go dark, leaving only the main one lit. A single box appears on the desktop, displaying secured. Amanda slides her glasses off her head. The desk image on the screen shows a perfect reproduction. A blank yellow legal pad is highlighted. She spots it at the counter's end, retrieves it, and places the glasses on top. The system zooms in on scribbled pencil marks. She rolls her eyes, retrieves a mechanical pencil, and copies the text. Blorgen 23, 2 fiddle spoons of 9 grumble verp, the sploofel until gloglid. The image zooms out, highlighting an energy drink can, crushed and in the garbage. Leaning back, she sighs. For future reference, let's avoid creating a physical record, she quips, tapping the legal pad, even if it seems harmless. Updating parameters, a female voice responds, uncannily resembling Sam's. A faint smile touches Amanda's lips. It's not the same, but close enough. She grips the crutches, forcing each movement. The brace digs in as she drags herself up, a prison, but cages are for breaking. Weakness has no place here. You're not to reveal yourself on anything about my condition. Understood? We understand, the system replies. Sure you do. Amanda's lips twist into a sardonic smile. She forces herself to breathe, reaching for her glasses. The fabric of her t-shirt brushes the lenses, and for a moment she clings to the familiarity. She places the glasses back on. If he's planning something, so am I. A plan for a plan. Isn't that just like us? The system's voice cuts through her thoughts. Your blood pressure is... This is crucial, Amanda hisses. Seriously, now's not the time for a wellness check, and I'm snapping at machines now. Great. Do what you can, but I need to see this through for Sam. Got it? Yes, it responds. She exhales. God, I'm losing it, aren't I? Thank you. A pause. We detect an error. She lets out a short, bitter laugh. With me saying thank you? Yeah, I get it. Override, Severin, amend, etiquette responses. Confirmed. Thank you, she repeats, this time letting her tone soften, allowing herself a rare moment of sincerity. The system responds. You're welcome. Amanda swallows hard. Oh, snap out of it. Garrett's coming and I need to be ready. Okay, I'm going to pause for a second. So, we've got the little internal thoughts. Snap out of it. Snap out of what? What are her feelings towards is she looking forward to Garrett coming? Is she like wishing she could avoid it? Is she excited to see him? I'm just throwing out all the options, okay? The little internal thoughts that we have in here are they're working for me so far because it gives me a little bit of, I feel more connected with her. It's given me some kind of a little bit of something without giving anything away. But at the same time, when she says snap out of it, I'm like, snap out of what? She doesn't seem out of sorts, in my opinion, unless she's just jabbing at herself because she's like, here she says she's losing it. And I'm like, what is she losing? This is crucial, Amanda hisses. Seriously, now's not the time for a wellness check. And I'm snapping at machines now. Great. I kind of like that one. Okay. That's like, I like that one. And then I guess, is this her just being like, she's feeling like she needs to be polite to the AI. And so she's trying to take it down a notch. Maybe, I don't know. Okay. We're going to come down here. Amanda crutches toward the kitchen. I'm inclined to want hobbles, or, I guess she's using crutches, but we kind of already mentioned them, so I kind of want hobbles there. Even if you're on crutches, aren't you still kind of like hobbling along? You're just fudging. Anyway, Amanda crutches toward the kitchen, each step a sharp reminder of the ache in her leg. Damn it. Keep moving. When she reaches the cupboard, her motions smooth out the simmering discomfort. She surveys the selection, a lone tube of crackers, a few neglected cereal boxes, and some canned soups. Survival basics, she thinks, slamming the door harder than intended. Moving to the fridge, she's greeted by rows of energy drinks and 2 6-packs of beer. She grabs a bottle, pops the top, and takes a swig, letting the bitterness cut through her frustration. She opens the freezer, eyeing the stacked TV dinners, the pinnacle of my culinary skills. A knock on the door shatters the silence. Took your sweet time. Guess it's takeout, she mutters. Yeah, I'm coming. Amanda doesn't need to check. She knows who it is. But she goes through the motions, peering through the peephole to confirm the inevitable. With a measured sigh, she unlocks the door and leans against the frame as if letting him in takes more energy than it should. Assistant Director Garrett, she says. Special agent in charge, he corrects. Right. The Seattle office came with a demotion. So what do I owe the displeasure of your visit? The sarcasm rolls off her tongue. Sam here? Garrett asks. Fishing, are we? She rolls her eyes. No, and you knew that. Beer? I'm off the clock, so if you're offering, I'll take one. She gestures to the fridge. They're in the fridge. Not super big fan of the word echo here. Maybe she gestures to the kitchenette, because I'm guessing it's like not like a full kitchen. It sounds like it's a little studio type thing that they're sharing. I'm inclined to suggest kitchenette or something like that. She just gestures towards the refrigerator. I don't know, you're still going to have an echo on fridge there. So my suggestion is probably kitchenette. Yeah, we're going to keep going. She gestures to the fridge. They're in the fridge. She steps aside to let him in. Let's see where this leads. Garrett steps inside. Okay, so we've got stepping aside, and then we've got stepping inside. So sometimes we get caught up in the motions of our characters, moving them from one place to the other. At least I personally know that I do. And my writing will read very telling if I'm doing nothing but moving them around. So let's think about this for a second. She gestures towards the kitchenette. They're in the fridge. She steps aside to let him in. Let's see where this leads. Garrett enters. Or you could try this. What if I were here to speak to you? He asked as he came inside, or well, I guess you have inside again as he entered. Has he got the plant? I'm thinking he has the plant, right? Yeah. Okay. You could mention him holding the plant, like, oh, I almost feel like him. Hey, I bring gifts, but I guess the plant is for Sam. So let's see. What if I were here to speak to you? He asked. I was trying to think of the way someone moves, as he comes inside, but we don't want to say comes as he enters. I guess you could just to keep it simple and to keep it moving, you could go with enters, and you could rearrange and put his text in the front and his action in the back, and that'll still work as your tag there. So I would take that out. What if I were here to speak to you? He asked as he entered, or he asked following her. Yeah, no, she stepped aside. She didn't go in. Honestly, she could kind of like wave her hand toward the room as if to welcome him in, but also walk away, and he could follow her. And that way, that's another way you could kind of rework the action if you get that kind of visual. All right, we're going to keep going. No, your skepticism is noted. You did let me in. Okay, so we have no dialogue tag here. We know that it's only the two of them. Basically, we had him come in, but I don't have a facial expression. I don't have what he's wearing. I don't have what he looks like. But I mean, she doesn't. Okay, she could even have she's when you open the door and you see someone, you kind of, if you're seeing them in person up close for the first time that day, almost every person that you interact with, you kind of give them a little once over. Okay, you're kind of reading the person. It's like a initial feel for where they're at today. At least, I'm an empath, so maybe I'm the only one that does that. I don't know. Maybe we all do it. I'm not sure. But as an empath, when I'm first into someone's space for the day, I'm kind of not necessarily reading the room, because in this case, Amanda's already in it, but you're kind of reading the person. Okay. And so you're kind of getting a feel for where they're at. And honestly, she's thought back here that he's fishing. She kind of thought, he's fishing. So she might kind of eye him a little bit, she might give him a once over and look at, are there bags under his eyes? Does he look tired? Is he looking thin? Is he looking haggard? Is his hair disheveled? Is his shirt hanging out, or is it neatly tucked in? Is he standing straight back? And not all of this. I'm just trying to give you an idea of a quick glance at someone can give you, is his hair clean? Is it dirty? Is his clothes, does he have food on his shirt? Because it gives you an idea of that person. It's I don't want to say it as a first impression because it's someone she knows, but it kind of is your first impression of the day, because you're looking at this person and kind of getting a feel for them. And then you take into context all the other things that you know about a person generally, if you know them and you're not meeting them. For example, I'm kind of a scatterbrained motor mouth. And so if all of a sudden I was to show up at my friend's house and she opens the door and I am quiet and my head and shoulders are kind of hanging and I'm kind of looking, maybe the corners of my mouth are drawn down. What kind of feeling do you get with that visual? How would you think that person is feeling? So I'm just saying, when she opens the door, there's an opportunity to let us see Garrett, and she can look at him, and even if she really doesn't want him there, she can still read the person. And being this is a whole spy thing, I feel like this is something they might do pretty frequently, is assess the person that they're interacting with, because they're a little bit suspicious all the time. All right, that's enough of me rambling. We're going to get back to it. No, your skepticism is noted. You did let me in. It's also Sam's apartment. I'm being a nice roommate. That for Sam or me? She asks, nodding at the plant. Okay, so I think I suggested this before, and I kind of still am hanging with the same suggestion. I don't just like what it says. I would pop some quotation marks right here, and I would move. She nods toward the plant. That for Sam or me? I kind of want her to nod before we say, is that for Sam or me? Because when I read it with this context, for a second, I had to remember the plant. So I kind of want the plant tucked in the middle there. And we keep going. Placing the pot on the counter, he replies, Sam mentioned once that they were her favorite, adjusting it like it's a part of a carefully constructed puzzle. Too neat, Amanda thinks. Too convenient. So let's see. She's suspicious, and she should be. I mean, pretty much that's kind of the state you're going to live in when you're dealing with spy people. Placing the pot on the counter, he replies, Sam mentioned once they were her favorite. I kind of want a period there. He adjusts the leaves like it's part of a carefully constructed puzzle. I kind of want this to be its own sentence, even if it's still in the paragraph, because it's relative. And I kind of want him to say he adjusts the leaves, be specific, because you've got two it's, and I kind of had to create the visual myself, when I think if you would have been specific, he adjusts the leaves like it's part of a carefully constructed puzzle, would have worked very clearly. Too neat, Amanda thinks. Too convenient. She grabs her beer and leans against the island, hiding the pain in her leg behind a practiced facade. Garrett catches it, his eyes meeting hers, a silent question lingering. Nothing you can do, she says, tracing the plant's leaves, the lie slipping out easily. Are you sure Sam mentioned it? I kind of am contemplating, like, the lie part of this. Nothing you can do, she says, tracing the plant's leaves, the lie slipping out easily. Is there nothing he can do? Because she's lying about what? She's not denying her pain. She's telling him there's nothing he can do. Is there really nothing he can do? I mean, I kind of feel like that's not a lie. That's probably the truth. But anyway, are you sure Sam mentioned it? Garrett raises an eyebrow, a wordless probe as he retrieves a beer. I'll handle it. Find something more appropriate and put your name on it. More appropriate? Garrett pops the top off his beer, eyes narrowing. And now we're dancing. Something that makes a better excuse to knock on the door, Amanda replies. I need an excuse, Garrett tests the waters. For Sam? No. Knowing I'd be the only one here, she leaves the suggestion hanging. Not up to your standards, he teases. Not even close. You wired? Amanda's tone is blunt, cutting through the pretense. Not in the mood for games today. I suspect you already know, Garrett replies calmly, matching her intensity. But omit the adverb there, you don't need it. He replies, matching her intensity. Yeah, I would just let that roll as one sentence. Indulge me. No, he pauses, scrutinizing her. Need to check? Assume I already did, Amanda arches an eyebrow. Your move. He nods, acknowledging the unspoken and. Must there always be an and? She counters. Amanda, Garrett presses. Careful, my not friend. Beer is beer. This is different, Amanda warns. You're playing with fire and you know it. Is it? Yes. Throw me a bone, Garrett urges. Typical. Always wanting just a little extra. How much time between the request and the pickup? She pokes the plant. Something setting off alarms, he guesses. Sharp as ever. Maybe not. Maybe not. Hour or two, give or take. Just enough time for something to slip through the cracks. You stepped where you shouldn't have, she states. Amanda, if I cross some, my patience only goes so far. Careful before you lose the option of using my name. Push me further, and I'll remind you of that line. Okay, so I kind of want a visual here. There's like some tension in the dialogue. She's kind of agitated. She doesn't seem like she's basically saying she's not in the mood to put up with this. I'm kind of wanting a visual. I wanted that visual of Garrett earlier to kind of give you his mood. I'm going off the dialogue, which I'm seeing him as just being very, almost like talking to a typical military dude, to be honest, just very blunt. And I'm just kind of seeing her as not wanting to deal with him today. But I'm not really sure why she feels that way. Let's see. Just enough time for something to slip through the cracks. You've stepped where you shouldn't have, she states. Amanda, if I crossed some, I kind of want him to shake his head and be like, or hands up, something that kind of is like, maybe he steps back, maybe he puts his hands up and steps back, something that shows disarming kind of, like, I'm not wanting to be offensive. Show me some body language and emotion and a motion from Garrett that supports it. And then Amanda can have a feeling. So I've got internal dialogue. I need a feeling, like a sensation inside of her. Is her blood pressure rising? Is there tension? Is she wanting to hold her breath? Is her fists clenching and unclenching? Does she poke a little hole in a leaf of the plant? Does anything that would show tension inside her so that we can feel that along with her dialogue and her internal thoughts. So we are weaving threads of fabric how about this? We're weaving threads to make fabric. And that is the story. Okay. So you got all these little strands you got to pull in here. You got the dialogue as a strand. You got the internal thought as a strand. You have the action of a strand. A body language is a strand. You've got the setting is a strand. So, and you're kind of weaving it throughout this entire chapter. And then herein you do it in every single chapter, and then you have a book. And then there's something happening with each one of those lines. That's writing anything is a mastery skill in and of itself. And it's just, you're literally making a world. You're literally making a person or a character, whatever they are, and you're describing everything about them. But we also want it to be beautiful and woven carefully so that it's not overkill. So that's where we have to find balance so we don't pull that thread too tight. How's that? Okay. All right. My patience only goes so far. Careful before you lose the option of using my name. Push me further and I'll remind you of that line. Okay. So basically she's saying she set a boundary. I just kind of want a physical thing from her, not necessarily toward him, just something that shows her tension and her agitation, because we're getting it to the three right there. We've been doing this for several years. Okay, so see, I still can't see Garrett. You're going to have to show him to me. And I think if you show him to me in at least one of these places up here somewhere a little bit, I'm not going to need it as badly down as we go on. But as we go on without me getting that, I continue to want it because I have no visual of him. As if history buys you more time, I can do it for several more. Amanda leans forward, her voice chilling. Truth is a valued commodity. Are you offering? Are you? Garrett counters. No. Stand still it is, Garrett concedes. I think we need a new paragraph right here because I think the no is Amanda and then stand still it is goes back to Garrett. So we need a little, and I'm not in a edit suggestion type mode here. So we're going to keep going. If that's how you need to see it, Amanda places the bottle on the counter, feeling the weight of each action. Sam needing something between us? Garrett probes. Needing? Amanda steadies herself. Sure, you can go with that. She turns her back on him and starts to crutch away. You have your countermeasures in place, Garrett continues. Okay, so Amanda talked, and now Garrett's talking, and I need a space between this paragraph too. Right here is Garrett, and the one above it is Amanda. One would assume, given my profession, but that's not trust. Amanda eases into her chair, feeling the tension knotting in her muscles. This game, always the same, layers of lies and half-truths. So was it your idea or theirs to include the transceiver with the order? They're just flowers. Okay, hang on. So this is Amanda talking. And this is Garrett But this internal thought belongs to Amanda. So it needs to be in a separate paragraph away from Garrett. And I kind of want you to give Garrett a thing. He needs an action. He needs a body language. Is he, let's see, did she sit down? Yeah. So she sat down. What, does he lean against something? Use one of your pieces of furniture in the room. Give Garrett an action. Okay. You're not that blind, Amanda cuts in, her patience wearing thin. What am I missing? He pushes. Okay. I feel like that could be he pushes. And this also needs to be in its own paragraph right there. You need a, yes, this is Amanda. This is Garrett. We need a new paragraph. Okay. More than you know, and more than I'm willing to give you. Please, he begs. Amanda chuckles, a humorless sound. Begging is beneath you. Well, maybe not. Look around. She gestures to the room. I don't. Ignorance won't save you. It's not welcome here, she states, cutting him off. Will you tell me why? Garrett asks, still fishing for a crack in her armor. I'm assuming that when she gestured to the room, are like all the plants, did Garrett bring Sam, or did he bring all these plants on a pretense of trying to talk to Amanda when he's pretending that he's looking for Sam? I mean, did he buy all these plants? Because that's kind of my reader impression when she does that. Because I'm wondering, begging is beneath you. Well, maybe it's not. Look around. So I'm assuming that's kind of the impression I got, was like, he's trying to find excuses to be there, and he's been bringing plants. I don't know. That's kind of the impression I got. Let's see, where were we? It's not welcome here. She cut him off. Will you tell me why? Garrett asks, still fishing for a crack in her armor. She motions for him to bring the plant. And another beer. Garrett retrieves a bottle and the flower. He places them before her, his eyes searching for clues. Amanda takes the flower, yanking it from the pot with a forceful shake. Let's see what you've hidden this time. A small chip encased in plastic falls onto the counter. As she disentangles the wires, one slices her finger like a paper cut. Sharp little bastard, she mutters, flicking her wrist to drop the chip and sliding the pot into the trash. Don't worry. It's harmless for now. Something's happening here that I don't understand, Garrett says to himself, confusion plain. You do, yet you don't, Amanda mocks, downplaying the significance. Stay calm. If Sam were capable of hate, this would be on the list. She closes her fist, hiding the tremor threatening to betray her. Hold it together. He can't see this. Whoever ordered them got the information from one of your agents who interviewed her at Landing View. What? Garrett asks. Supposedly buried, marked super secret, and only a handful have access. You're one of them, unless Sam suggested it herself. Amanda watches as he shakes his head, denying any such information. Interesting, she muses, letting the silence stretch. Someone's digging where they shouldn't be. And you assume this because of? No assumption. I was there. It was the only time she mentioned liking them, a sarcastic breadcrumb. Amanda winks, a slight smirk playing on her lips. So who had access to that interview if it wasn't you? And why go to these links to eavesdrop on Sam, especially with the authorized taps already here? Maybe she wasn't the target. Garrett's eyes roam the room, taking in the scattered equipment. Huh, she murmurs, more a challenge than an acknowledgement. You're not seeing it, are you? I'll look into it, Garrett offers. Leave it. It grants unnecessary credence. No need to stir the pot when it's already simmering. And you think that isn't going to? He gestures toward the discarded chip and trashed plant. He's still focused on the wrong details. There are many ways it could be rendered useless. To quote Sam, kind of sort of accidentally on purpose. Would you like that monstrosity through the door if you were me? You did, accepting it for what it was, a gift for Sam, and would dispose of it to save me the embarrassment. Which tells you, she leads, watching him connect the dots. Either they have no clue what they're up against. They call those amateurs, Amanda interjects. Or a pro who could set up something so benign. Or someone soliciting the intrusion, she smiles, sipping her beer. Or maybe it's all just a game we're both playing. You set this up. Amanda shrugs. I could have. We need little quotation marks right on the front end of that one right there. Garrett contemplates her words, noticing the shift in her demeanor as her antagonism fades into something resembling comfort. The job offer. It's not the first time. Now we're getting somewhere, Amanda thinks, keeping her expression neutral, not giving him any more than he already has. No. Her eyes gleam with satisfaction. There it is. She watches Garrett's face as realization dawns, savoring the moment like a hunter admiring its prey. If I remember correctly, you're a history buff, right? A passing curiosity when I have time. Why do you ask? Garrett's response is measured. What's occupying my time now? She reaches for her keyboard, the images Vicky sent filling the screen. This will either break him or bring him closer. Bind him closer? Bind, I kind of want bring, but it's bind, and I think that's fine too. We're going to keep going. This will either break him or bind him closer. A trail for both of us to follow in different directions, she continues, her tone deliberate. The stepmother got smart after the first attempt, when Hansel laid down the pebbles. The second time, it was breadcrumbs, but the birds ate them, leaving the children lost. They stumble onto the witch's house, which is nummy goodness. Amanda, I know the tale, but I don't, Garrett begins. Humpty Dumpty, she interrupts. Focus, Garrett, or you'll miss the point. Yes, it ties back to what Sam mentioned on that call. It was your shorthand, benign to anyone else but not the two of you. For Sam, it was meant to trigger your memories, and now it does the same for me. She notes the flicker of unease in his eyes, a small victory she files away for later. He's worried. Good. You're offering me a job, she presses on, because deep down, you're questioning if I'm a grandmaster of spycraft, a super assassin, or someone plotting the end of the world. You need someone like that, but knowing what I know creates complications. So we go through this dance, and you give me the breadcrumbs. And I'll follow them, only to see where you lead me. I kind of want to suggest tucking a detail of Garrett in here, like his eye color. I'd kind of just tuck the word of the color of his eyes right up here. Mostly because I'm looking for an opportunity for you to kind of show me Garrett so that I can kind of see and visualize him, because I don't have a picture of him. We'll keep going. She wiggles the mouse and the display lights up. The image is now arranged with meticulous precision. Garrett's face lights up too, his boyish smile a rare crack in his armor. Got you. Okay, so I feel like we've had crack in armor mentioned somewhere else back here with Amanda. Kind of scrolling back. It could be... I wouldn't use the same saying twice in one chapter, but I feel like it was in here. Does anybody else remember it? Let's see. I feel like it's in there. I don't want to keep going way back. I'm going to say I feel like it's been mentioned before. I am going to stop scrolling for it and just move on. But I'm going to mention that I feel like it was mentioned that it was in here before in this chapter. And therefore you may screen back for it, keeping an eye out specifically for it. And if it is and you find it, I felt like it was one of these ending lines. That's why I'm kind of looking through there. But what I'm going to suggest is scroll back and see if you see it somewhere. If you do, change it. And if you don't, we can all think that I'm losing my mind, and that's cool too. Because there's no stopping the inevitable. Let's just roll with it. So basically scroll back through. If you find it and you find it is repetitious, just change one of the two and you're good to go. Is that in Coptic? He asks, leaning in. Keep him interested. It makes the game more fun. Okay, I kind of want her internal thoughts to be on lines of their own away from his dialogue so that it's very clear that we are in her headspace. All right, going to keep going. Amanda chuckles, the sound almost predatory. Only a handful would pick up on that, but yeah, it's an interesting dialect. Dr. Vicky Abbott unearthed it near a Nubian monastery. Why is that name familiar? Garrett's confusion is evident. She wants to roll her eyes. For you, through her older sister Elizabeth, you were on your way to meet when Sam called you about Landing View. Pay attention, Garrett. You're missing details. Are you serious? Wait, how did you... show me Garrett here. Okay. Just... It doesn't have to be with every single line of dialogue, but I want a visual of him, and I just don't have one. I don't have one. We're going to keep going. You and your selective memory. This time she does roll her eyes, half amused, half annoyed. Sometimes I wonder how you've survived this long. Okay, so in this case, she thought she wanted to roll her eyes, but she stopped herself, and this time she did. But I am going to point out that I also feel way back up in there was other mention of eye rolling. Just, I like this use of it where she kind of didn't, but then she kind of went ahead and just, it escaped her anyway. I kind of actually like that. But I would be careful that you don't use it again throughout the rest of the chapter. Not something I'm used to. Vicky wanted to see if I could shed some light on it. She fidgets with her beer, taking a small sip to mask her growing impatience. I'm more of a Northern European Druidic person. Cumbric, Pictish, Cornish, Breton. It bothers you, doesn't it? The question is a trap, and she watches with satisfaction as he steps into it. Yes, you translate dead languages as well. His voice betrays awe. So his voice betrays awe. Okay, show me an awe-stricken expression. Okay, show me something that got away from him. Like he didn't control it. He didn't conceal it. He just basically is stunned. Show it. Show me that. Okay, not dead, not translating. I'm reading and deciphering. Difference. We know I'm good at that. She rises, leaning against the desk as the pain in her leg flares up. Just one more weakness to hide. So is Sam. Okay, so what is Garrett's attitude when he says that? He's stating a fact. Does he says it matter of factly? You know, is he thinking about the two? You know, I don't know. I don't have a visual of him, so it's really hard for me to give a suggestion. And we're gonna keep going. She glances at her chair, hinting for Garrett to take over. Let him play King Geek for a while, she thinks, amused. Sam's the one who hooked us up. You know how she is about bringing people together to solve puzzles. The implications hang in the air. No coincidences, Garrett. You should know that by now. Vicky was one of her professors or something, totally legit. Anyway, she'd asked if I'd take a stab at it. Figured why not. Garrett nods, a half smile curling his lips. Yeah, they studied together when Sam was getting her master's. Or was it doctorate? I can never keep them all straight. Typical, Amanda thinks, suppressing the urge to sigh. Okay, one thing I don't want is for us to state that she's thinking every time she has a thought. Because I feel like, yep, here it is. We had it up here, and now we have it here. So that's telling. We don't really want that specifically. We would just say typical. She suppresses the urge to sigh. But that's why I'm here, isn't it? To keep everything straight while you play catch up. She's kind of mean. All right, here we go. I can't either. There's a flicker of annoyance in her tone. Wait, if she just... Okay, so I feel like we could have this dialogue that is Amanda still with her thoughts all as one paragraph. Now, this is a little bit of a long paragraph when we do that, but at the same time, when I read her thoughts here, and then I came to dialogue here, I was prepared for it to be Garrett, and it was not. And so that's why I'm making that suggestion. We're going to keep going. I can't either. There's a flicker of annoyance in her tone. Just another reminder. She thinks. See, here it is again. She thinks as she reaches for the medication bottle behind her. Just another reminder. You could, if you want to say something, you could alternate the word thinks with different things, like she muses as she reaches for the medication bottle behind her. Something like that, but it wouldn't state it if it's an easy fix to rework it a little bit. The motion is swift, automatic, as she works the top off with ease. The pills hit her tongue, bitter as always, but the taste doesn't register anymore. She swallows them dry, her throat tightening for a moment. Does he notice? She glances down at her leg, a silent hint directed at Garrett. I'm supposed to say something here, and I'm missing it, aren't I? Garrett's tone is cautious. Always tiptoeing around, Amanda thinks. See, there it says Amanda thinks again, so we're telling. Amanda bites back a sigh. Let's try this. Always tiptoeing around. She bites back a sigh, as if that changes anything. Maybe it's always a different path. I don't know what you kept and what you didn't. The words came out clipped as she pops 2 more pills into her mouth, chasing them with a drink. Garrett's eyes flicker with awareness. He glances down at the chair he's sitting in, her chair, and then back up at her, still standing. A shadow of guilt crosses his face, and he makes a move to vacate the seat. No, you sit unless my hovering is bothersome. It is better if I stand. Circulation and all. Let him stew on that, she thinks, testing his reaction. Yep, there we go again. So we have we have the word thinks with every single internal dialogue, do we? Is it all of them? I don't think it's been all of them, but like the past 4, maybe. I just keep an eye out for it. Maybe do a little search. How's that going? Garrett asks, careful. Amanda taps on the keyboard, her medical records flashing onto one screen. I'm sure it has all been explained to you by the experts you employ. Here it comes, predictable as ever. Don't get all uptight fed in the presence of a lawbreaker on me, she cuts him off. It's not against the law if they're your records. Acquired them fair and square when they wouldn't share, quoting HIPAA something or other. She chuckles, as if that would stop me. I was curious enough not to peek at anyone else's, but wow, I could have. Their security could use an upgrade. Unauthorized access, Garrett states, disapproving. I'm going to pause. So, this paragraph was Amanda's dialogue, and so was the one above it. And again, since this was her, I was prepared for this to be Garrett here, so I would kind of review that and think about whether or not you want to connect the two. It does make a long paragraph, but at the same time, I feel like that would be better than not having the right, expecting the right person's dialogue, because it is distracting. It pulls me out of the story. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, we'll keep going. By law, I have a right to my information. A flash of irritation rides Amanda's tone. He's missing the point again. You put up all sorts of security around it without asking for my permission. With good reason, Garrett replies. So one of my many aliases won't be using words like lawsuit and abuse of authority towards the Bureau for the mistreatment that led to this? She points to her leg, bitterness unmistakable. You don't get to play innocent here. We didn't, Garrett begins. Amanda cuts him off. You didn't, she snaps. But don't pretend you don't know. But we know some cross the lines. Lassiter Pharmaceutical and their antiviral come to mind. By appearances, it causes major organ failure. But there's more behind the curtains. We both know it. So don't. Don't even try to argue. I'm one of the lucky ones it hasn't killed off yet. I can't open that can of worms because they'll poke at me, wondering why I'm not dead. Should be, but not. Brooms sweep it under the pre-existing or cancer rug along with all their other shady stuff. That's one way of looking at it. Another is to protect who you are. How many of your aliases would hold up to the scrutiny and publicity of such an inquest? Garrett's words are careful, but Amanda senses the challenge beneath them. Semantics, she dismisses his point with a wave, although she knows he's not wrong. Garrett rolls his eyes, frustration seeping into his expression. And you wonder why I believe what I do about you? No, because you're right about me, but you'll never hear me say it. You do it on purpose. Okay, it's reading pretty well, and I'm going to keep rolling along. However, I just wanted to note that now we have internal thought and we have dialogue. Tuck some sensation just here and there, not every single time. Just kind of as you read through, I'm talking to Crystal Committee, as you read through, if you get a sensation when you are reading the paragraph, if you're getting a sensation from the dialogue, like with your visual of it, you have a visual that I do not have, but you're trying to create it for me. You've got dialogue, you've got internal thought. Now you're going to look for like a visceral sensation here and there. Okay, that goes with the dialogue. So I guess the mood of the person. So now, and you don't have to do it a whole lot. Just tuck it here and there if you see an opportunity. Tuck in a description of Garrett in there. Those are some that I'd look for opportunities to do that. We're going to keep rolling through. Let's see, where did we leave off? Yes, I enjoy watching you work, and you prefer the challenge. It's the game we play. It's our thing. Keeps you on your toes, keeps me entertained. You're dangling answers in front of me like a carrot, Garrett says, exasperated. Uh-huh. Don't you think I've been scouring the internet and private networks to satisfy those questioning? Amanda's voice is smooth as her fingers trace the delicate seedling stem. He knows how deep I've gone. I haven't been subtle. She lets a smile slip through. Okay, so this was an eternal thought that was not in italics. So to keep consistent with your formatting, I would probably do that. But I like it. Garrett doesn't respond immediately, but Amanda sees it in his eyes. He understands how thorough she's been. Good. He gets it. Okay, so we have like a description of the speed in which he responded. It's fine. I'm just noting that I observed it, and we're going to keep going. Good, he gets it. For me, it's just a hobby to pass time until Sam is back. I respectfully disagree. I think it's to see who might pick up on who you were before, who might hunt for the subtle clues you dropped. Let me read that again. I respectfully disagree. I think it's to see who might pick up on who you were before, who might hunt for the subtle clues you dropped. So what I'm questioning right now when I read this the second time is, should this be two separate sentences? I kind of want it to be two separate sentences, or have an and before who, or who. Let me be clear. I think it's to see who might pick up on who you were before, period. Who might hunt for the subtle clues you've dropped? Question mark? I don't know. Or, I'm going to read it this way. I think it's to see who might pick up on who you were before, or who might hunt for the subtle clues you dropped. See, for some reason, and because it's spoken dialogue, I want it to read exactly the way that we would say it. But I'm left with like 3 different interpretations to read this sentence, because there's a third one. I think it's to see who might pick up on who you were before, and who might hunt for the clues you drop. See, I can tuck and or right here before the who. So I've got different options in how I read the sentence, and I want to read it the way you want me to read it. So I'm going to ask you to take a look at it. We're going to keep going. Amanda winks, shifting the conversation. I hope you have a bigger drive this time. I've been busy with new toys. The code alone should keep your techs occupied and teach them about the companies that hired me. She pauses, letting him absorb that before adding, question? What? Okay, show me Garrett. What's his mood? Is he annoyed? What does Garrett look like? What is Garrett's thoughts and feelings? You can't tell me his thoughts, but you can show me with his body language and with his face and his expression and whatever it is that his reaction. Is it legal for you to use government resources for your pet projects? She raises an eyebrow as Garrett crosses his arms. Typical. He's weighing his options, but she knows he can't resist. Not when I'm offering a glimpse behind the curtain. You could just ask. Amanda arches her brows, hinting he should make the next move. Garrett hesitates, then pulls a small thumb drive from his pocket. May I? Amanda points to a port among the towers beneath the desk. Steiner must think you're a super spy extraordinaire. I let you walk in and plug stuff into my computers without question. Of course, there's the whole spite thing, and the pleasure of outmaneuvering that waste of a space, she thinks, smirking, savoring the moment. Okay, so we're tucking in an eternal thought. It's not consistent with the formatting from the rest of the chapter, which was in italicized thoughts. And then we have the word she thinks again, so we're telling. I just want to point those things out. You could easily rework that just a little bit with some tinkering. You'd rather give it to me than let him work for it, Garrett asks. Yes. The government, Amanda chuckles, shaking her head. They think they can cheat me and still get what they want. Okay, so this is an internal thought. It's also not italicized. I kind of am inclined to suggest that you keep it that way. It also made it easier to read and, we're in third person limited. So I don't know. I was contemplating whether or not to keep them all italicized. But whatever it is you choose, be consistent. Both are fine. Just be consistent. All right, we're going to keep going. They refused to pay me for the encryption software and mobile network protections I developed. Gee, they're still trying to reverse engineer the patch for the blackout virus. It's laughable. It serves my purposes that they have parts of it to protect my... If they believe you have a close relationship with me, I won't notice you're sneaking it out of here. Let them think they're outsmarting me. It's better that way. So there, we have another internal thought. I'm liking them. They're a nice addition, and they're a good building block. So we're headed in the right direction. Consistent formatting. We're going to keep going. Well said, Garrett smiles, parting the dangling leaves of a plant on top of the tower and plugging it in the drive. When he looks up at Amanda, a small tendril inches out from beneath, wraps around the thumb drive with a tight grip, and shifts from vibrant green to translucent. Good luck getting that back, she thinks, pleased with her own cleverness. What? What just happened there? I don't remember this part. Now, I have said before, I don't always absorb all of the happenings of the story until I go back and play this and listen to it the second time. Well said, Garrett smiles, parting the dangling leaves of a plant on top of the tower and plugging in the drive. When he looks up at Amanda, a small tendril inches out from underneath, wraps around the thumb drive with a tight grip, and shifts from vibrant green to translucent. Good luck getting that back, she thinks, pleased with her own cleverness. What kind of plants are these? They're like super spy plants. I'm okay. Clever little plant. All right. The plants are cool. Let's keep going. I've been given the lead to create a new team. I want you to be a part of it. But, okay, show me Garrett. Just give me a facial expression, some body language, something. Give me something. Can't be fed without a clean background, she cuts in, pausing as she considers his words. You're not offering a position with the Bureau. No. See, here's the thing. With this conversation, he's going to have facial expressions. But the things that they're saying, he's going to have feelings about them. And he's going to be able to show them, okay, he's going to be able to show them, you're going to show them to us with his face, with his body language, with his reactions, with whatever he's doing. You can show it to me. I will say, and it depends on, I don't know what type of person he is. I don't, he's a little bit that kind of military kind of spy thing, where he could be emotionless. He could be rigid. But, you could show that too. And if you show that a lot early on, if that's how you want him to be, then I'm going to expect it. Okay. And so it'll kind of be more easier to tuck in the thoughts and stuff later. You got to set his visual early on, and then it's going to help carry it through for your reader the rest of the way on. At this point, I don't have a visual of him, but I know that there would be facial expression with the dialogue that this specific conversation is not just a yes, no. We're not on the phone. Okay. There's stuff that they're saying to each other that demands expression. Okay. Amanda takes the last swig, the taste lingering as she turns to face Garrett. Her eyes narrow as she studies him. What's his angle? Okay, so we have internal thought, and then obviously her back was to him, okay? Her back was to him, so never mind my request for thing there because she's not going to have it. She's just now turning around to see him, okay? But we can see what she sees when she does turn around. Let's see. What's his angle? Internal dialogue formatting. I'm not Sam, so I'll ask. Do you feel it's safe to discuss this here? I need to know if he's comfortable or just playing along. Again, she's thinking again right here. Garrett leans back in the chair, meeting her gaze. That question is best answered by you. A carefully constructed ploy to learn how I defeat your surveillance attempts? Amanda's tone is challenging. Possible, but I wouldn't have given up the drive if that were the case. It could be seen as me leaking information. Garrett's eyes lock with hers. And I wouldn't have offered on the same premise. Internal thought, so formatting. Why now, after all this time? Your reasoning. I have my own. Sam. Her intuition will put her on the same path her parents were on. Tough place for you to be in. Grab me another one? She thrust the empty bottle toward him, watching his reaction. Let's see if he's willing to serve me this time. Okay, so internal thought here. And internal thought here. Garrett stands, keeping his gaze from Amanda as he moves to the kitchen. She leans over to the keyboard, pulling up a small box on the screen. She types in Garrett's name, followed by a string of characters. A warning flashes above the thumb drive, posing the question, secure or not. Amanda selects the quarantine option, her lips curling into a smirk. Always better to be safe. She instructs the system to extend the delay further to keep him guessing. She settles back into position, making it appear she hasn't moved when he returns. Garrett finds his way back, pops the top of a beer, and hands it to her. So are you willing to be open about this job offer? All of it? I'll trade. I'll not try to be elusive or vague in my answers. Let's see. Okay. What I know, yes. To clarify, I'm Hansel, and you're the witch. He spins the chair, offering it to her. Amanda smirks. Oh, you think you're clever. We're a bit out of reach. It works better if you sit. Lighter processing load if they don't have to render your movements in a deviating storyline. The control is still mine. Okay, so internal thought, not italicized here or here. The drive starting point. Yes, Garrett confirms. Amanda takes a sip of beer, savoring the cool bitterness. He's dancing around something. Let's poke the bear. Does the governing board of ICID know about me? I don't believe so. Sam, she presses. There have been some uncomfortable inquiries recently. It feels like a fishing expedition, and I'm the bait. References to cases I've been involved with implied knowledge beyond what's in the reports. I'm going to pause. So there is more internal dialogue up here where she, but it's not italicized. I'm going to stop repeating myself. I'm just going to recommend that you read through and look for consistent formatting one way or the other throughout the document. And then we're going to keep going, and I'm not going to keep mentioning it. Amanda's fingers tap a rhythmic pattern on the desk. Amateurs. The downside to reports is when you purposely leave out details, you need to remember you did. You're being investigated, she states, watching his reaction. I believe so, Garrett admits. You are, she confirms as the system announces an incoming message. Suspicion prickles at her mind. Open that for me. Garrett opens the message, hesitating. I kind of want him... Okay, so he's opening the message, then he hesitates. I kind of want him to hesitate before he opens the message. Garrett hesitates, then opens the message. Stay put, Amanda cuts him off. It's from Vicky. The pictures of the remaining text. Your input would be appreciated. She reaches for the mouse, opening a blank document. Second opinion. I'll follow up afterward. Besides, it's a suitable cover for you being here. Okay, Garrett nods. You said investigated. By whom? ICID, Amanda replies, almost rolling her eyes. Duh. Pay attention, Garrett. Okay, so there we got eye rolling again. I've brought this up before, Garrett says, so you know the players. Wouldn't be alive and talking if I didn't, she says matter-of-factly. No one survives this long without knowing who's moving the pieces. The trust has also gotten curious, but not on their own accord. There's a traitor in the midst, Garrett states as she slides the keyboard toward him. Yes, Amanda confirms. Finally, he catches on. You've gone from someone of no consequence to a barrier. Allowing you to create a team is a way to identify your current and potential allies. You're aware of this. It's why you tasked Carter to me. It kept your hands clean. Yes, frustration seeping through. Do you know who this traitor is? Okay, I'm going to pause. So we've got Amanda talking, and then we've got Garrett. Show me his frustration. Show it to me. What does this look like? No, she replies, shaking her head. Poking at it will trigger action. Too many unaccounted eyes on us. We need to play the passive game on this one. Control the situation by doing nothing, a concept he'll never grasp. Sit idly by and let them... Right there, Amanda interrupts, her tone sharp. That urgency to do something before whatever fill in the blank happens. It's what makes ICID and its agents unworthy adversaries for the trust. They are long-haul players, and you're working the short game. She lets the sting set in. Though in your defense, you've come closer than any other aware of their existence. But close isn't enough, not with them. Garrett's expression hardens. Are you saying we're in over our heads? Oh my God. I'm sorry. It's kind of funny. I don't know if it's supposed to be, but it kind of is. I mean, it's like she's basically spelling it out for him at this point, and he's still like, so, are you saying we're in over our heads? Anyway, sorry. Yes, she states without hesitation. He knows it, even if he won't admit it. You suspected I once walked in their inner circle. I did, as a slave, a commodity to be bought and sold for position and posturing. A long, awkward silence settles between them. Garrett's voice drops. I've been waiting for that admission for years. Longer, Amanda corrects. Okay, so I'm kind of omitting some words that I didn't feel like were necessary. Like Garrett's voice drops. I didn't need it to be low because it kind of, the dropping implied low. And then longer, Amanda corrects. I don't need him to be there because she's talking to him, so I know it's him, so I kind of don't need it. It's just words you can cut. So Amanda corrects, her eyes narrowing. If only he would remember the details. Don't thank me. By verifying this, I'm putting you in a difficult situation. That's why I waited, letting you follow the breadcrumbs to what you see as my delicious house. I had to let you reach the truth on your own. Anything less wouldn't stick. You were protecting what you know and what I suspected for a good reason, he whispers. Of course I was. You needed to earn it. I also suspect you're being incremental on purpose. We've established before that anything you get from me can never come from, well, me. If they trace anything back to you, they'll change tactics, making you and any information you provide useless. I'm not new to this, Garrett says. Yet you're still learning. In the grand scheme, you're still an adolescent, an adept one, she flashes a smirk, enjoying the small dig. But it's worse than the trust retreating and returning in a different form. The smallest whiff of betrayal, that ignites destruction this world hasn't seen in decades. What you and ICID have associated with them is just the tip of the iceberg. You don't walk away from them, you don't retire, and you sure as hell don't go over to the other side. You did, Garrett states. No, I didn't, Amanda barks. I crashed a plane. An opportunity arose and I made a choice, she trails off. It wasn't a choice I'd ever want to make again. When you're ready, Garrett offers, trying to bridge the gap. I'll never be ready, but it needs to be said. Amanda swallows, bracing herself. Ugh, this is hard. You need to know the hold it has. The choices I made then are so rare, they might as well be impossible. It was sheer luck I survived, and they didn't. Their deaths likely disrupted their organizational structure, so my survival was of no concern. You're suggesting you were overlooked? Garrett asks. Yes. Confirmation I was dead, because I was, twice over. I've stayed quiet through the scrutiny and hell your agencies put me through. You know they've got their hands in that. And when they find out I'm alive? But as they reestablish their network, the risk of my discovery increases exponentially. It's always been there. What's different now? I kind of want a facial expression from Garrett right here. A culmination of events that would take years to relay. The biggest is the change of perspective I've gained since meeting Sam. She notices his posture shift, ready to interrupt. She holds up a finger to stop him. It can't be undone. And it's one none of us can explain, but it's monumental, and it changes everything. Okay, he replies. Amanda caresses the nearest plant, feeling a ripple through the others, amused by the subtle energy in the room. Because of this, I realize you operate on a different belief system than the trust. And you can translate between, Garrett says. Somewhat, she replies, enough to keep both sides guessing. For example, the board of ICID thought was on the plane was made out to be catastrophically powerful, yes? Yes, you're going to admit it existed, he asks, curiosity lighting up his face. Hooked him. The plane or the package? She lets the question hang, enjoying the moment. Both. Yes, they existed. And before you get your shorts in a bunch, we didn't confirm or deny, because if we had, you'd have closed the investigation and stopped looking into it, and that's not what a curious FBI or ICID agent would do. She pauses, watching his reaction. The trust would have found out. They'd have found Sam and me. We'd be dead, and you'd still be in the dark. True, Garrett says, giving her a slight nod. Good, he's getting it. You were led to believe it was destructive because it was to those within the trust. Their fears tainted ICID's information as intended. You had no reason to think it might be harmless or helpful. When the plane went down, an easy assumption was that I and everyone on board was consumed by it. Consumed? Garrett chokes out, laden with disbelief. Found no trace of it, did you? Amanda smiles, satisfaction swelling within her. It's why I've held on to this. You weren't ready. And you think I am now? Amanda pauses, gathering her thoughts. Is he? The reason you never found the plane, Sam's dad, or any other bodies? Sam drew you a picture with indisputable detail, yet no evidence. No sign anyone had been on that mountain to clean up the wreckage. The only explanation, one the public can't accept, is that it vanished. Magic, poof, gone. She grins, daring him to challenge her. You're saying the trust has magical powers, Garrett chuckles, trying to deflect the gravity of her words. Well, it's not magic as fiction defines it. It's the closest I can offer that will get through your Swiss cheese memory. I should take offense. Okay, I want a facial expression. Show me a facial expression. But I know it's true. Amanda points her bottle at him, eyes narrowing. Don't pretend otherwise. While most of their members don't have it specifically, things they possess do. You're serious, he says. Deadly. This package, can you tell me what it was? Garrett's question hangs in the air, heavy with expectation. If the trust and what they possess are dark, diseased, evil, she takes the last drink, savoring the finality of it. It was life, what was good and right in the world. It deserved protection from them at any cost. She smiles, tossing the bottle into the can. And I was willing to pay that cost. Need another? Yeah, he replies, thoughtful. Amanda signals him to stay seated, crutching into the kitchen. He's piecing it together. You were protecting it. Didn't say that. She opens the fridge, grabbing the last beers. Protecting it, maybe. I'd like to believe I was, but that wouldn't be truthful. Depends on the day, my mood, and my perspective on reality. Sometimes I think I wanted to do some good for the world, but what's common amongst that? Selfishness. It was mine. I found it, acquired it. Why should they have power over it? Enlightening yet not, Garrett concedes, a touch of frustration in his voice. I should be used to it by now. You answer one question only to give me a million more. That's the point, Amanda thinks, a smirk tugging at her lips. Keep you guessing. Popping the top, Amanda hands him the bottle as she frees her crutches. He still doesn't know the half of it. I'm a complicated woman, and I'm nothing compared to what's involved in classifying the trust. Deep down, I think you've always known. You just need someone to put a voice to it. Sam know? Garrett asks, curiosity cutting through the air. Yes, Amanda states without doubt. Not all of it, but enough to be vulnerable. Enough to be in danger. That's why you're so protective of her, Garrett surmises. Oh, I wouldn't go that far, Amanda chuckles, a dark edge to her amusement. Sam and I had our differences when we first met. Oil and water, black and white, literally. There were times we'd rather put the other out of our miseries, but not without sacrificing ourselves. You protect her to protect yourself, Garrett says, smiling as if he'd figured out some grand truth. Always, Amanda replies, acknowledging his point. I wasn't sure about your interactions with her parents. I needed time to figure out if you were using her or hiding her from what she would become. She takes a long drink, letting the bitterness linger on her tongue. Sam and I share the last of our kind uniqueness. Okay, I'm going to pause. So this kind of read to me like part of the dialogue right here. And then we've tasted the bitterness before. I kind of would go back and look and make sure you don't have that again. You could probably just do a search for bitterness and see how many times it pops up in here. Sam and I share the last of our kind uniqueness. Garrett considers her words. What do you mean? Correction. I'm not the last. More like one of a kind, a conundrum. An enigma, and better that way. Amanda raises her bottle in a toast, which Garrett meets with a clink. So the better question, what do you know of Sam's origins? Garrett asks. He doesn't know. Interesting. Huh. You remove that? He shrugs, and she's even more intrigued. He's holding something back. Okay, not expected, because who would be protecting Sam from those that... You, Garrett interjects, cutting her off. I would have to exude some trust at this some point. Dangerous, Amanda mutters, narrowing her eyes as she searches his face. Not even a hint? He shakes his head. Nothing beyond some anomalies that would have every pharmaceutical company using her as a lab rat. They'd tear her apart to figure out what makes her tick. And you're the one standing between her and them, Amanda says, and Lassiter is the focus there. It gives reasoning and why you went to great lengths to keep them private. She smirks. He nods, accepting the compliment. Specifics? If it's not crossing any lines, Garrett asks. If it does, you'll just erase that. Wish I had the luxury. Amanda shrugs, trying to keep it light. How much to reveal? Anyway, her genetics are only a part of the greater whole. Same with me, you, and everyone else for that matter. This is true, but Garrett starts. Amanda cuts him off. We're about to do something that's never been done before. I get that, Garrett says. I don't think you do. At least not the full scope, not with your purposeful archiving of related information. He's been protecting himself from the truth. But it's time he faces it. Amanda takes a deep breath, meeting his eyes. There's fear there, more than that. A need to do what's right. She holds his gaze, letting him see the conviction behind her words. Okay, I feel like she's done this before too. I feel like she's... But then again, in a conversation that could happen more than once, and there might be enough space between it, I'm just going to point out that I noticed that I think it's a repetitive description of action. So I'm going to note it, that I observed it, and we're going to keep going. Garrett breaks the tension. Didn't go so well before? Is that why I choose not to recall? She shrugs again, but this time with resignation. It didn't go anywhere because we both concluded we weren't ready. This is different, he asks, not blinking. I suppose where you're concerned. Garrett lowers his head. I'm sorry, he mumbles. Don't be. If we have to go again, we do. Amanda pauses, considering her next words. Sharing this knowledge is a risk, but so is keeping it to myself. Garrett thanks her with a nod, understanding. Rock meet hard place. That's about the size of it, but we're in it together whether we like it or not. In more ways than one, Amanda agrees. Okay, so... There was something I wanted back here. This is different, he asks, not blinking. I kind of want I want you to show me Amanda right here with, I suppose, where you're concerned. Show me her body language or her tone. something to imply her feelings here. Let's see. That's about the side that we're in it together, whether we like it or not. In more ways than one, Amanda agrees, her mind flitting to Sam. Sam's the bridge between us, the common ground. I'll start with generalizations that I, as Amanda Severin, could relate to using what Sam has said. Not me from before. She's still pretty locked up and tongue-tied, not the sharing type. The past version of me wouldn't be as generous with this information. Differentiation noted, Garrett says. Amanda waits, bracing herself as if expecting the world to end with her next words. This is where it gets real. When nothing happens, she continues. Those that Sam descends from, her bloodline, were thought to have been hunted to extinction by those we'll pull together as the trust. They acted, but not always the reasoning behind it. Garrett adds, her intuition, memory, the uncanny knack of just knowing the truth, her ability to heal quicker than the rest of us, especially after she got out of the hospital. His words trail off, the rest unspoken but understood. Yes, Amanda chuckles. Tricky time bender that you are, you've somehow hidden information. That's why you're so deer in the headlights right now, leaving me to relay fairy tales to trigger stuff. Garrett sits in silence. I'm not sure how to respond to that. So I'm not, and go back to Sam. I kind of want like a comma or something here. I'm not reading this sentence exactly right. Let me try it again. Garrett sits in silence. I'm unsure how to respond to that. So I'm not, and go back to Sam. I always wrote it off as good genetics. Okay, I feel like these are two. This could be its own sentence together. This part, and then this part seems like a statement. Let me try it that way. I'm unsure how to respond to that. So I'm not. Let's get back to Sam. I always wrote it off as good genetics. Yeah, so I even reworked that just a little bit when I just said it, but to me, it read better. Anyway, we're going to keep going. Simplistic but understandable, because you had to. It was the best you could explain with her and your agreement. Then mix that with some astronomically impossible conditions. Garrett considers her words. What do you mean? Amanda meets his gaze, feeling the gravity of the moment. This is where the genuine history lies, buried under layers of convenient truths and forgotten horrors. Okay, kind of got right here. I feel like we've mentioned this before, the meeting of the gays. I would just screen for repetition on your description there. We're gonna keep going. Amanda nods, her thoughts darkening. Mass slaughters, genocide, then rounding up small groups under the guise of witchcraft, traitors, wrong religion, any excuse. A straggler would surface and they'd be swiftly eliminated. She lowers her head. I was involved in too many of those atrocities. You once called me the Lady in Red to explain my deeds to your superiors. Over the years, you came up with more colorful names as I evaded capture. It's been our connection. You're her daughter, Garrett states. No, try again, she chuckles. Impossible. She'd be in her 90s by now. Amanda looks up. He's still underestimating what's possible. And you're over 500, but don't look a day over 50. So 90-ish would work for you. 90-ish would work for when you saw her. Me. His name's Ronald, right? The man secluded since the Second Great War. Trying to unravel it all? A good case study when I dropped out of the sky, huh? Garrett struggles to reconcile facts. I'll explain how I know that later, she says, giving him a moment. You were more correct than you realize. Okay, I kind of want this right here to be its own paragraph when you start this part. So leave Garrett's thing right there and then start a new paragraph right here. Or keep rolling. About what specifically, Garrett asks, curiosity and doubt battling in his eyes. You had me dead to rights. A lucky shot at that distance. Luck had nothing to do with it, Garrett defends. No way she walked away from that. Amanda chuckles, the memory of a mix of amusement and defeat. No. I stumbled off, pissed off and in pain. Left a blood trail a blind man could follow. Thanks to you missing the body armor I'd designed. I made it half a mile into the woods before you caught up. Tied that scarf on a limb so you could have some closure. Never got the end of that story. Probably why you passed it to me to explain to Sam in the hospital. Nuh-uh, Garrett says, trying to steer the conversation. You don't have to divulge anything. I was there, she grins. I saw everything. The blood trail stopped at a tree. Bloody handprint at eye level. All that work only for your prey to vanish into the mist. You put her out there knowing I'd be hunting and convinced her you'd get the shot before I did. Risky given your knowledge of me and my history of defeating you." Garrett shakes his head. Amanda presses on. "I saw what you did. I'd seen it before, but not at that level of mastery. You looked right at me, felt my presence, knew I was there. Do you remember what you called me?" She watches as he swallows hard, lowering his head. He shakes his head, unwilling to answer. Okay, so we got an echo on head. I would play with that a little bit because this is like really getting good, and I wouldn't want that echo to disrupt it. Let's just keep going. "Not so easy when the Inquisition turns on you," she says. "The secret's safe with me, always has been, time bender." She smiles and pats his shoulder, a rare gesture of reassurance. "If I wanted to betray him, I would have done it long ago." "There was something about you, what you were and what I knew, that was valuable. Keeping it from the trust brought me," she shrugs, "pleasure. Until that night, I had no idea your kind still roamed the earth. One of a few remaining." "No, Deathwalker of druids," he whispers, struggling to speak. Imagine my shock hearing that. Amanda's smile is sharp, reflexive. She watches Garrett, seeing the wheels turn in his mind. He's still processing, of course. Most would crumble, but not him. He's handled worse. She enjoys watching him struggle, knowing she has the upper hand, if only for a moment. But the proper term is druid who walks amongst the dead. She adds air quotes for emphasis. "I've been a double agent longer than those words have existed, though I crossed over to the dark side and went far beyond what was ever intended." Her voice is light, almost breezy. "Why tell me this now?" Garrett's questions slice through her thoughts. "Maybe I've turned over a new leaf and want to make amends for all I've caused," she says, her tone even. "Even I don't believe that. Amends. I don't know amends. Amends are for the guilty, the weak." The smile on her lips is automatic, but who's counting? I'm going to pause. I'm tempted to keep reading, but I'm going to notice there's an echo on even right here. And then it says here, Garrett's question slices through her thoughts. I don't have thoughts. Okay, she's not musing anything here. She stated something, and then her voice is light, almost breezy, which I like. But then I don't have thoughts to go with Garrett's action, to go with what you've got here for Garrett. Okay, gonna keep going. "You're not much of a maybe person." "True." Her chuckle is more genuine this time, ironically. "The truth, there's always more to it." "Something more to it," he presses. So we have an echo on more to it, and then more to it again. "A lot more," Amanda replies. He doesn't need to know everything yet. She watches him hesitate, holding back, waiting for her to spill the rest. Patience is a virtue, darling. "I could spend years explaining, but right now I'm running with revenge. There's a thrill in saying it aloud, like confessing a secret in a dark room. Revenge is simple, necessary. Sam's facing near impossible odds, so using her is the best option until she's gone as far as she can, and the inevitable happens." "The inevitable?" Garrett asks. "Are your memories that short?" Amanda shoots back. "Manipulating time has its cost." His admission stops her for a moment. "There it is. Vulnerability. We've all paid a price." They lock eyes, and for a moment she feels it too, that unspoken understanding of what it means to lose something that can't be regained. Amanda lowers her head, her hand moving to her leg. The ache is there, always there, a reminder. "Yeah, so does serving two masters," she mutters, the bitterness surfacing before she can swallow it back. "I hold no loyalty to the trust, despite them and everything they are. I know you can't take me at my word on that, and you shouldn't. He'd be a fool to trust me, not after everything." Are you saying I can't trust you?" Garrett asks. Okay, so sometimes her thoughts, I'm noticing a pattern. Sometimes her thoughts are being echoed in the dialogue immediately following the thought. So you may want to look for that pattern yourself, because I've noticed it 2 or 3 times. I let it go the first time, but now I'm noticing it as consistent. Okay, we're going to keep going. "Where they are concerned, yes. They're too powerful, too entrenched. I've seen it too many times. People think they can't beat them, only to end up broken. Their powers of persuasion and manipulation, been there, done that. Always thought I'd have a leg up on the next go-around, only to fail miserably." "You're selling me impossible odds." "Not impossible, improbable." She leans into the difference. "We're not out of options, but we're close." Garrett clears his throat, his hesitation almost endearing. "How did you survive so long?" he asks. I was valuable to them in ways, she starts, but the memories are too raw. A shiver runs through her. Okay, so since I have read her title, I am wanting to know what that is and what it means, and I continue to read, hoping I'm going to get it. I'm starting to think I'm not going to. If anybody is wondering what I'm talking about, it's when we clarified Druid who walks amongst the dead. What does that mean? What does that title mean? And that's what I keep reading and I keep wanting to know. And I keep thinking I'm going to get it and I'm not sure I'm going to. So we're going to keep going. Your chameleon-esque regenerative abilities, Garrett probes, and Amanda's expression shifts, confirming he's hit the mark. I buried your genetics along with the identity of who I thought you were because I couldn't explain it. Can't dangle something like that before you and expect a blind eye. To keep it quiet, you had to study, know what would be looked for. What would? Okay, so I think because these two words start with W, I tripped over them. I don't think it would be an issue if I was reading silently, but I'm just going to note it. She nods, acknowledging his thoroughness. Dead twice over was true, yet you bounced back, adaptive to the environment. But the scars? His eyes flicked to her leg, then her face. Doesn't happen overnight, Amanda chuckles. That's not all of it. I can read, he says, gesturing to her medical records. Even from your doctored results, you're not recuperating. Your concern is noted. Inside, the tension tightens. What's different now from years past? Your guess is as good as mine. Yours is far more educated, he presses, refusing to let go. I don't know. Is that what you want to hear? Her defensiveness spikes, unexpected even to herself. Literal sore spot. I apologize, you've got enough on your plate. It's fine. Not my leg, but that you noticed and are concerned. She exhales a breath she didn't realize she was holding. It's nothing I should discuss with you because we aren't friends. I kind of want her to say that. She could just say that. I'm going to point out, because I do this a lot, it's what we call an old crutch, and it is she exhales a breath she didn't realize she was holding. If I was to go back to my work, I'm going to show you 24 of that. I'm also going to show you glared like daggers, or, the daggers statement. I now completely avoid the word daggers because it's been so overdone. Also, the silence in the room is deafening. We're not. Those are all three that are overdone, and that I have them in my past works. You will not find them there today. So I'm just like you would in my past works that I've not revised because I've left them there. For example, for me to reference and show you my own mistakes, my own places that I've grown away from. But in my writing that I do now, I deliberately avoid those things. So we keep going. It's nothing I should discuss with you because we aren't friends. We should be, Garrett says, his sincerity almost catching her off guard. Okay. It's fine, not my leg, but that you noticed and are concerned. We should be. So was this supposed to be dialogue? I'm sorry. My voice is also giving out of me. Now the way he says that kind of seems like this is supposed to be dialogue, but I thought it was internal thought. So I'm pointing out that I'm not sure about this. We're going to keep going. But we can't. Not with what you need me to do. The words are final. There's no room for friendship here. Not if we want to survive. You'll figure it out, he says, his confidence in her unsettling. You want me to vet your network of do-gooders, she states. He's putting a lot of faith in me, more than he should. Dangerous. That's one way of putting it. Yes. With what goal in mind? You're considering it? Yeah. The goal would be to clean up ICID and refocus its original purpose to take down the trust. Pass. I'm not here to play maid. He should know better. He's about to offer more when she holds up her hand, stopping him cold. 2 points. Doing that exposes me. Eliminating the trust, that's a mountain you can't climb right now. Recommendations, smaller goals. You're aiming too high and it'll get you killed. And if I go with your advice, he asks, a lot of little things that seem to make no sense but culminate. That's how you chip away at big problems piece by piece until they crumble. So some of her internal thoughts actually read like they're part of the dialogue. We'll keep going. You'll do it? I'm a free agent who speaks and answers only to you. Nothing written, nothing transmitted, no phone calls. It's between you, me, and these walls. Those are my terms. Your terms are accepted, he grins. So you have this place isolated in a bubble, willing to share how you do it? No, maybe in time. She smiles, the implication clear. I don't just hand over my secrets. When I review the recordings and Steiner approaches me, will I be surprised by what we've discussed over the last couple of rounds? He asks, referring to the beers they've consumed. So you know they don't cut communications even on your command? Yes, but I ensure they are redacted later. However, I know it's the trigger you use to switch from real time to your altered delayed feed. Amanda smiles, letting him know he's close to the truth. It'll be some ordinary run-of-the-mill banter centered on the Coptic decryption, with a smattering of your concern over my past. If they do a stress analysis, they'll detect deceit on both our parts. Its construction is organic, only diverting and altering what would be troublesome for us, according to an extensive set of rules. So sometimes I'm getting dialogue in here and I've got necessarily no tag, but I don't see Garrett. We don't need it all the time, but at least every other time you should probably have an action to kind of give you a goal, a visual, some mannerism, some facial expression, something. All right, we're going to keep going. Yes, and not to point out the obvious, but Sam's my roommate. Amanda smirks, ensuring he understands the risk. Given your recent inquiry into my research with Dr. Abbott, our conversation will follow that path. You'll suggest nothing more than you already know, and I'll give you nothing extra, no surprises. Her computer opens a dialog box. The words are unintelligible. Amanda glances at it, expecting a mundane notification, but something catches her attention. What the hell is this? Garrett notices her distraction. Mind if I ask? It's found something that bothers it. He'll find out sooner or later. Better to control the narrative. Has to do with the chip you brought in. Could be a false positive. And if it's not, I'll take care of it, she says confidently. This is my territory. You'll have to trust me. There are things I know and do that I can't share with you. Not because you can't handle the information, but some truths are too dangerous even for you. Okay, so this seems like it might be dialogue as well. Not really sure. But knowing too much at the wrong time is a death sentence, not just for you, me, and Sam, but I can't believe I'm saying this. The world as we know it. And that's not a risk I'm willing to take. You should thank me for it. Delusions of grandeur, he asks with a laugh. That's part of the conundrum of what I am and why we've been through this before. I shouldn't be trusted with it without exception, yet I demand it. How about I return the gesture? Are you familiar with the rare book archive below the Central Library? I know of it, but haven't visited. Takes some high-level credentials to get in there, which I'm sure you can remedy. They have codices that would interest you and Dr. Abbott. You can work that angle. I'll get notice of your inquiry and meet you there shortly after. Sounds exciting and all cloak and dagger. Well, I'm excited. I want to know what it is. Okay, so I want to know what happens next, but if you want me to make suggestions, I would review some of the things I pointed out. I would kind of this is the approach I might take. If I were reading this and working with it and it was mine, I would go through each chapter looking for one thing. And what I mean by that is, okay, do I have enough visual? Can you see Garrett? Okay, I might go through literally reading this and keeping Garrett solely in my mind and looking at his dialogue and looking at his action in the room, knowing the personality or the attitude or the feeling or emotion or, showing him. And I would look for opportunities and I would go through just working on Garrett. And then I would probably go through it again and just look at Amanda and think, okay, so I've got her internal thoughts. Is my formatting consistent? I would probably give that one review in and of itself, one pass. And then I would do another pass looking for making sure that I don't have any duplications or repetitions. I do think I did get more out of her internally, although some of them read as though they might be dialogue, and then we lost our formatting midway. So there's still a little bit of work to be done in here, but I am curious about what happens next. And so I will see you guys. Let's see, I've already done chapter 6, 7. I have to check my list because I'm reading for multiple people and you guys are in around the same chapter number. So I know this is my second pass at this one. I do feel like I got more out of this chapter and that it had clarity in it and made much more sense to me with this pass. So the internal dialogue probably helped that. And I feel like there was probably some things you might have adjusted a little bit. And there's parts that I remember now that I didn't remember the first time. But that can also be because on my first reading pass, sometimes I don't gather all the details because I'm looking for so many different things at once, and I kind of get like a high level overview. So a lot to take in there, a lot to process, but I did enjoy this version. So thank you for trusting me with your words, Crystal Committee, and I will see everyone next time on Mystery Road Reads.